Hello, everyone, and welcome to the brand new series, which we are calling. Oh my god, I forgot the name of it.
Professionality.
100% quality. Shonen and Chill,
Yeah.
that's what we're calling it. We're calling it Shonen and Chill. So we're going to be bringing
Yep.
you every week, hopefully. I say hopefully because, you never know. Recaps of what you should be checking out in the weekly releases of Weekly Shonen Jump. I'm going to say weekly way too many times, but specifically the Sunday releases. We know there's a lot of stuff on the app that comes out at varying times that's really good. Spy Family, Kaiju number 8, but can't talk about it if it's not out yet. So we're going to talk about the Sunday stuff.
All right. Yeah. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to join Zen on our little mission to tell you what to get way too invested in and what to avoid like the plague. And I hope you'll get some value out of this. And we're just here to talk about some shonen and chill, as the name suggests.
Yep, so I am, of course, Zenrotto, and this is Oceaniz. I don't know if you want to talk about the numbers behind your name or not. I'm leaving the numbers off. Sue
Wait,
me.
I have numbers behind my name? Where?
I don't know. They're on Twitter somewhere. You go by
Oh,
thing. This is Ocean Man.
oh
Let
yeah,
him take you
I'm.
by the hand, and we'll get started.
Yes, exactly. To the land that you may or may not know.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and tell the people what your most enjoyed chapter was this week?
Uh, it's a massive surprise to anyone who knows me. I think my favorite chapter this week was probably MHA.
What? No.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I know.
Mm-mm.
Incredible, right? Well, it is funny. There are people who actually know me as like an MHA hater. It's really funny. Like people will see like one tweet of me complaining about something super specific, and they're like, ah, that guy, he always complains about it. He must hate it. But no, I really enjoyed this chapter of MHA. I felt like it was a sort of dialogue heavy, big fat info dump that I'd kind of been wanting to give us a break from the constant fighting this arc. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I think after that, for those of you who don't know, I only read three Jump series. I only read MHA, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Chainsaw Man. And I think after MHA, I would have to rank Jujutsu Kaisen because not much happened, but it was a very shocking event. Um, we got a big, typically shonen flashback, and followed by a typically shonen, oh no, why did you do that moment, which I enjoyed a lot. And then there's Chainsaw Man, which I lack the linguistic capabilities to describe what the fuck's happening, because oh my god, what is Fujimoto doing?
Everybody
So
does.
yeah,
Chainsaw Man every week. I'm always like, what the fuck is going on?
right? Right? It's like you cannot predict what this man's gonna do. It's completely random at this
He had
point.
a hamburger 2 chapters ago, and then he plummeted from space in this one.
Dude, Aki being turned into the gun fiend was only 10 chapters ago.
It feels like it was 5 years ago.
Right? No, it's insane. It's insane. So yeah, I think Chainsaw Man, well, I have kind of clocked out about it a bit after the hamburger chapters because they were like, fun, but whatever. I will say if you're into like unpredictability in shonen, Chainsaw Man is absolutely a must read. Like, holy shit, what's
Yeah,
happening?
unpredictability is a very tame way to put it. Chainsaw Man is bonkers. It's good, but you're gonna be spending a lot of time reading backward trying to trace how you got to this point.
It's insane. No, I think it's just so crazy and honestly refreshing that, we're reading this magazine for kids and I could not tell you what's gonna happen next chapter. I could not give you even a theory of what I think might happen. It's yeah, it's bonkers, as you said. It's completely off the wall, and I think there's genuine value in that. Fujimoto's really managed to carve something special out here. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man is the one that feels the most like near to resolution of the three that
Hmm.
you talked about so far. So I am gonna be very interested to see where the rest of this can possibly go.
Right? Yeah.
All right, for me, my weekly pick is probably Jujutsu Kaisen. It would probably be my weekly pick 90% of the time because every chapter is so good. Even this one,
Mhm.
which, like you said, felt pretty by the numbers. Like, oh, here is a long flashback about this character because something bad is about to happen to them, type thing. It was very much like that, but it hit for me. I don't. Maybe it's
Hmm.
just because I love all of the characters in Jujutsu Kaisen so much, but getting this little chunk of flashback for her after the stressful combat that's been going on, because the Shibuya arc's been going on for like a year now. It's been going on for a crazy long time, and yet it's
Uh,
never really slowed down.
I mean, if you wanted to put it into perspective, by the time the Shibuya arc had started, uh, the first English volume of Jujutsu Kaisen hadn't even been announced yet. Like that's how long it's been.
God. And yeah, it's just it's never really slowed down, but it also hasn't felt overwhelming. I think it's
Hmm.
because it's just done a good job of jumping from character to character and kind of showing simultaneous stories going all at once, so it doesn't just
Hmm.
feel like there's chaos going all the time. But
Hmm.
it kind of caught me off guard that we had this really slow chapter that was just kind of sweet memories about a character, only for it all to blow up in your face right at the end, as it
Yeah,
literally actually.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. What I find like crazy about this is that did you check out the anime for Jujutsu Kaisen that dropped recently?
I have seen both of the episodes out so far.
Yeah, the opening actually references a scene from this chapter. Because what's been pretty much confirmed is that the opening was done in collaboration with Akutami, and there's shit there. You see Saori leaving Nobara with her like little tracksuit on, which at that time hadn't even been shown yet. So that's kind of crazy. That really hit for me when
That's
I saw this today.
like insanely crazy, actually. That didn't even cross my mind. From clearly, I need to watch the opening again,
Oh,
several more times because it's really
uh,
good.
oh man, it's not like I watched it about 200 times just to make my stupid analysis video. Oh man, I know the frames by heart. It's dumb, but
It's
yeah,
a
no,
really good opening, though. I will give them that. So just check out Jujutsu Kaisen. It feels like I shouldn't even have to tell you guys this. It's so good. The anime is
mhm.
crazy good so far. It's only 2 episodes in, and people are going nuts about it on Twitter. It's great.
Did you actually watch the preview for the third one?
I did.
Because they're doing it so well. Like it's crazy.
They have
They're
not
nailing it.
missed like a single time in the anime
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, it's because my biggest concern were the tone and the music, because that's something that anime gets wrong all the time, and so far it's been phenomenal. Like both the grungy sort of more serious tone or the kind of the cynicism it has, and the comedy has been just perfect. So it's
hmm
like,
Have
wh-
not
wh-
missed a single time. All the characters portrayed really well. All the voices fit really well. Every now and again, you'll get an anime voice where you're like, "Oh my god, that's what he sounds like." It's not even
yeah,
close to what
right.
I thought.
Mm.
Um,
I'm really interested in how Hanami is gonna sound like the curse with the trees, because
yes,
he's a male in canon, but he's voiced by a woman. Uh, he has a voice actress, which I'm really interested in to hear how that sounds. Because I mean, he's a demon, so it's like whatever. It's
right. I
just
mean, he's a monster. I guess he can sound whatever he wants, but because they gave a lot of the other curses they showed in some of the anime previews really deep, like monstrous voices. So
mhm. Well, okay. I think Maito has like the typical sexy villain voice. I think
the typical
because you hear him
sexy
in one of
villain. What a good-looking
yeah.
man he is.
I know, right? Well, okay. He's kind of he doesn't look as crusty as the other villains. I know he's literally a patch face, but I mean, compare him to someone like Jogo, who's a walking pimple. Um, so I do think it fits
And
somewhat.
I
And
think
Jogo,
Jogo is the one who actually has like he sounds like he's 85 years old, like really
yes,
deep voice.
yes. He has the old man voice, the old man anime man voice. Oh man, this has kind of turned into the anime cast though.
It has, yeah. We'll get back on topic, but enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen, everyone out there. It's
Mm.
fantastic. After Jujutsu Kaisen, I think my pick would be Doctor Stone. I had a really good one. It's been a little slow lately, um, because this arc has been kind of weird. They made it to America, and then they're like, oh my God, we have a conflict with Americans, and they fight for like 2 chapters, and now they're like tenuous friends. It's interesting and it sets up a lot of cool stuff to come in the future. It's been a little slow. This week we got a nice little parting chapter where the group has to split up for an undetermined amount of time because one portion of the group is going to South America and the rest are staying behind in North America. And they didn't really have time to pick who was going to be where because it was kind of a last minute, like, we've got to go right now. So everyone that happened to be in North America is just stuck there. And everyone who was on the boat is going to South America. So there were some tearful partings and some nervousness about the future. So I'm looking forward to that finally happening. It's the first time they really had to do something that wasn't 100% Senku just being like, I have already figured out exactly what's going to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see where they end up. And then for number 3, I don't know which, because everything was pretty good this week. Maybe My Hero Academia. Normally I don't rank it super high for me because this arc feel like it's dragged on for me a little bit. But I enjoyed this one. I think because they finally stopped punching each other. I've just been getting tired of them punching each other. There's so much punching. But the way they framed this, because like you said, it was pretty much an exposition dump. But the way they framed it and the way that he gave a lot of additional information purely with the visuals without needing to sit there and explain some stuff to you was really great. High quality stuff. No punching. Very little punching this time. So if you're tired of punching, you actually get some emotion this week.
My Hero Academia, this week's rating, no punching out of 10. Good.
Minimal punches out of 10, which it's really, for me at least, it's really needed that. I'm getting really tired of. I punched him and he healed. Oh no, he healed. I'm gonna punch him. Now they're actually like there's some sort of powered autonomy at play, and I'm enjoying that a lot more than I was Is Endeavor gonna burn him? Oh wait, Endeavor can't burn him because he's the main villain. So why are we spending 3 chapters on whether or not Endeavor's gonna burn him? This week was peak stuff. The ending a little bit too, of Toga being like kind of conflicted because she kind of likes Deku and Uraraka and stuff. I liked it. It's going to be an interesting next couple weeks, I think, which is high praise for me when it comes to My Hero Academia.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. Like, I tend to disagree with that, but I absolutely have been seeing people kind of getting fed up with this arc, and it is a very big arc, and it is very exhausting to have an arc this big in a series like My Hero Academia, where it's been relatively briskly paced up until, I don't know, a couple of arcs ago, I'd say. So like I totally feel that. For people who follow me on Twitter, they've started noticing that I don't do weekly threads on it anymore. And I actually had people like jump on stream and say like, "Hey, do you not enjoy this arc?" And I'm like, "I enjoy it, but like, it's really weird. At the same time, there's too much to talk about, and at the same time, there's too little to talk about. Like, I could endlessly jab about, oh, there's this implication and that parallelism that I can, pull out of my sleeves here." But fundamentally, this is a big climax arc where they've just, as you said, been punching each other, and things just kind of happen, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. So I don't want to settle myself in too much in commentating on like every little bit. It's also why I was super nervous about dropping that Shigaraki video, like that big one I made a while ago, because I was like, well, what if like a big chapter drops the week after and like completely undoes my character analysis?
Completely invalidates all of it.
Yeah, so I waited until Hori was on break for like 2 weeks. So I was like, yes, at least I can get like the views for like a week, and then what happens.
Well, no, see, then you count on, if you do get corrected, you count on all the hate views of people coming in to be like, you're dumb.
That's also
views are views, my man. It still counts.
I mean, I'm completely prepared for the fact that I will have to like follow that video up somehow, because I mean, Shigaraki's obviously, it was a very reckless thing, because I mean, Shigaraki's obviously not done as a character, because I know there are people who are like, oh no, Shigaraki's gonna get beaten this arc, and then he's not gonna be the villain anymore, and it's gonna be someone cooler, and it's like, Nah, I think it's gonna be Shigaraki until the end. Like,
yeah, I
kind of
don't
don't see it changing.
Replacing Shigaraki as the villain at this point feels like you couldn't do it and get away with it. Because who could you possibly, unless you bring All for One back again, I guess. I don't know how you would replace Shigaraki without, because the whole point is the conflict between the two quirks and the long line between them, and replacing him with some generic like, I'm quirk Hitler, like, it just wouldn't work.
Oh man, you don't know how many people really want Stain to come back. Like,
I don't think Stain really ever needs to show up again. I understand people finding him cool And maybe you get some fan
Hmm.
service down the line of him just fucking around doing something, but from a narrative perspective, I think Stain has served his purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Like I also feel like people really like deify him. They're like, "Oh, but he was so right and he was so like justified." And it's like okay, cool, but he was still like a ninja turtle who got beaten by a couple of kids in the alleyway.
Yeah,
Like,
also like I've noticed the weird, especially when it comes to My Hero Academia for some reason that like people can't really seem to parse that he was kind of right, but also super wrong because his solution
hmm.
to there's some corruption is to kill everyone.
Yeah,
With
right?
not really the right way to go about it, I would think. I don't think anything
Yeah,
he did would count as justified.
exactly. It's like, people exalt him as this ideological figurehead in the series. And it's kind of interesting to see how, like, the propaganda of Stain almost works in real life if you want to be, like, super, I don't know, poetic. But, like, at the end of the day, he's like a 22-year-old, like, outcast who just got upset that society wasn't listening to him and started knifing people. It's like, that shouldn't be a role model.
Yeah, no, not really. Like, I think he was definitely right that some stuff about Hero Society sucks, but maybe not fixing it that way is the way to go. And like you
Yeah.
said, he's pretty much just one of the bad guys from the Ninja Turtles who got
Yeah.
dropped by a kid who can barely use his powers. So
Yeah, and I mean, I do think, however, that what he introduced to My Hero Academia, the whole the hero society is kind of messed up. I think that's arguably one of the best things about MHA and one of the like my favorite things it has elaborated on over time. I mean, okay, to be quite honest, and don't tell my fans I said this, but I feel like them saying, "Oh, Shigaraki will tear down society" every week has been gotten a bit tiring. Like
yes.
I feel like they keep saying it all the time. He's like, "Oh, he's the Herald of Destruction." Like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah,
Like,
see,
we
I
get
think
it.
that that's part of what has made this arc drag on for me is that it feels like even in between all of the action, we're constantly getting Shigaraki and Deku screaming resolve aspects about their character that we've known for a really long time at each other.
Hmm.
Shigaraki, the society's evil. I'm gonna destroy it. And then Deku's like, but I'm gonna save everyone, and this power is
Hmm.
to stop you from being. It's like I know, guys.
Hmm. Yeah,
They've been
right.
setting this up for 4 years. I know.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I will say I do enjoy how Deku's portrayed this arc because I do like him going a bit more feral. Although, with moderation, I'm not a big fan of evil Deku. That's like one of my least favorite fan theories. But I don't know, like on one hand I really enjoy these characters just kind of being themselves, doing their thing, but at the same time there's just certain things that have been repeated so many times. Like as you said, like we know it. Like come on, let's get going a bit.
Yeah, and
Um
I think that MHA has a bad habit of drawing out what could have been really awesome reveals way too long. Obviously, the Dabi as a Todoroki one is the one that sticks out really bad because that got predicted the minute he was introduced, and now it's been
yeah.
years, and they're still like, who is he? So I mean, whenever they finally, he's probably 99% he's going to be one. I'm assuming, and when they finally
Hmm.
reveal it now, it's going to be like, okay, we knew.
Okay, but this is interesting because I actually feel the complete opposite. I love what he's done with Dabi because it's like, yeah, sure, it's totally obvious, and there is no way the actual moment of the reveal is going to be, going to live up to whatever he's trying to build up. But at the same time, I can't help but really enjoy like this moment of uncertainty because now I find myself like looking at every chapter, fine combing it just to, make sure I'm right. So like, when he showed up this chapter and he's like, "Oh yeah, let's bring down Hero Society." Like any complaints I had alongside of the lines what you've mentioned, of course, just kind of vanished and I'm like, "Yes, Dobby, do it." So, it's really funny with me in MHA because I will criticize the shit out of it, but at the end of the day, I just enjoy the fuck out of it, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I like Dabi as a character very much, and I think that part of what annoys me with My Hero is that like I like most of these characters a lot. Some of them are like whatever, but MHA has fine-tuned its scale a little bit lately. They've definitely
Hmm.
started being like in the beginning, here's this class, and now it's a lot more like Yayorozu will get like a chapter, and then
Hmm.
Deku will fight and Bakugo will fight for 17 chapters, and then like the tape elbow kid will get a chapter, and then Bakugo again for another 19. They've definitely scaled down exactly the I guess the scope of how heavily they're investing in everybody. So a lot of the
Hmm.
characters who are kind of whatever characters have fallen by the wayside a little bit for me. So that's good. But
Yeah, I mean, it's something I think I actually said in my very first YouTube video. I think Hori kind of shot himself in the foot when he tried making it about a class, because you kind of can't do that without people automatically investing, their interest in, 20 people, one out of those 20. And while that's, cool, everyone finds someone to like, how are you going to live up to the expectation that 20 characters are going to be relevant in
yeah,
your,
especially with
battle
I mean,
shonen?
even though they're all in the same class, their level of usefulness is wildly different. You
Oh,
know,
yes.
you have your Bakugos and your Todorokis and your Dekus, and then even like Uraraka is like uniquely useful in that her quirk does a very specific thing that it's very difficult to replicate otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then you have like Ida, who is functionally useless now that Deku is able to control so much power that he's probably faster than him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like the Tail Kid, whose name I don't even remember.
Ojiro.
Yeah, his power is that he has a tail. And so it's like, Shigaraki just blew up a city. So what is Tail Guy gonna do?
Don't worry, guys. I'm hot on their tails, and they fucking kill him. No, it's one of those things where like maybe I'm just weird because I very early kind of accepted that none of these characters are gonna matter outside of like a select few. So people like Ojiro are just kind of, to me, they're more like a world building tool. Like, hey, there's people who really have sucky quirks, but of course, it isn't exactly efficient to relegate a um, marginal world building tool like that into a spot like here's the main class. So no, I definitely get that.
Yeah, I think it sticks out the most with guys like Ida, who spent a whole
Mhm.
lot of the beginning being really important, and like,
Oh yes,
he,
yes.
he was like more major than a lot of the other characters at this point. I mean, shit, he did more with Deku than Bakugo did early in the beginning, and
Yes.
now he pretty much never shows up except to like give wacky over the top comedic dropback to things that are going on, and like that kind, because him and to an extent Momo are the ones that feel like they're getting abandoned despite their really big roles early on. And
Mm.
I don't know if that's just because he's narrowing his focus or if it's because they're just not as useful as the powerhouses that need to be the ones that are fighting. Because
Hmm.
a lot of the characters like Tailman or Mineta or like, I don't know, Jiro are all like, I like them, but I accept that they're not effective. And I don't
Hmm.
mind that they're getting phased out. But it does stick out for when you have some characters that you're clearly trying to build up as like big players in this class and important aspects of Deku's development, and they just kind of vanish. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I
Yeah, I
mean,
feel that.
this arc has been predicted forward and backward in a million different ways since it started, and I know that the general consensus is Shigaraki's going to win. We're going to have a time skip, and maybe in that time skip period, we'll see a lot of these characters come back. I mean, they're going to have to at some point if the
Yeah.
prevailing theory of most of the heroes are going to die and or lose, and the kids are all that are going to be left is comes true, then they'll need to.
Mm. The time skip ends and they just announce like, "Oh yeah, Ojiro just died off screen." It's like we
Ojiro
don't
got
need to talk.
shot trying to stop a mugger. One guy with a gun.
It's like, "Oh no, Ojiro is dead. Oh no, did he die in the line of duty?" Oh no, sorry, he just had a heart attack. Like, oh okay.
His tail took too much blood pressure.
No, but like, actually, about the predictability, I'm not sure about that anymore. Because I mean, doesn't this chapter end with like All for One being like, "Oh, Tomura, you must retreat." So unless like Dabi's whatever Dabi has planned, because Dabi at this point is pretty much a third party, um, unless what he has planned is like absolutely the final blow to Hero Society, I think we might have like one more arc before the time skip, like just one where really like we see the destabilization of your society, because I feel like right now it's not quite enough to immediately go into a time skip. We definitely need like
Yeah,
a
I also
short
don't think it
little.
makes a whole lot of sense to jump into a time skip from this point because even if you're looking at it from like a societal perspective of people losing faith in heroes or whatever, because I mean that obviously started when All Might went away
Mhm.
and Endeavor's kind of an asshole, so everyone was like, "This sucks now." Um, but the heroes have done pretty good. Like no, there's had
Mm-hmm.
committed any horrible atrocities or anything in this arc. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
getting people out of the destroyed city, and there's not really a whole lot to complain about unless you want to go like MCU style. 37 people died in this world-ending event, and somehow that's all your fault.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
just
Good old
nothing there that I
Sokovia.
think would fit for it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
another arc would be good just to show whatever Dobby's gonna drop on the internet. You know,
Yeah,
Endeavor was the
yeah.
wife of Hitler or whatever. Um, and then
Ah,
then
yeah.
yeah, have the arc where you can kind of see a tangible impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that arc necessarily needs to end with Shigaraki coming back and being even stronger and bodying Endeavor or whatever. Um, but I think especially if the kids end up fleeing Japan, which was the prevailing theory at the time as well. I think it needs to become more from a public perspective than Shigaraki whooped everybody's ass and now Japan is just evil. It's evil
Mm.
Japan. Like I think
Yeah, no,
Japan turning on heroes as an institution, causing them to leave, I think would be a lot more interesting at this point.
mm. Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like the most like reasonable route to take right now after these events would be something along the lines of um the heroes are portrayed as incompetent due to the fact that, they've lost an entire city and they have very little to show for it. Shigaraki is definitely going to come out of this arc still free. I don't think they're going to capture him. And if they do capture him, it'll just be temporary so he can go and kill All for One in prison. Um, and then after that, you may have stuff like what the translator Caleb theorized today, that Dobby actually somehow managed to keep one of the cameras that are on Hawks' wings active to film him killing twice, and to then spin that in the kind of way of, your heroes are killing people who are unarmed. Your heroes have drafted your kids as, child soldiers, and also, the fucking basket of fun and happiness that is Endeavor, to kind of have that perfect trifecta come together for public support to finally sway. And then, of course, there's always the possibility of the prison break, saying, oh, there's villains on the streets. What are we going to do? Oh, quirk liberation. Everyone has to use their quirks now. And you have Redestor coming in with his political party. And he's like, yes, liberate yourself. Go and kill a man today.
Yeah, yeah, I can see
So,
that. Purge. We're going full purge. It's purge
yeah.
style time now.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, Shigaraki needs no presence throughout that. Like, I feel like this could be something like Sabori in One Piece, where it's like a relatively smaller scale arc um, that kind of heralds the time skip a bit further down the line. But honestly, I don't know. This war arc, like as much as I do enjoy it, I still think it happened too soon. I feel like we needed one more arc between Endeavor Agency and this one. Because like,
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. It's a good arc. I just think that like there hasn't been a whole lot of reasoning, at least in my perspective, for things to go down so quickly.
mm-hmm,
Um, in terms of like, because they've always been hinting that like stuff is bad for heroes now. We don't really like them as much, but like they're doing their damnedest, like they're doing a pretty good
yeah,
job. I think I just need to see some more from a more of like a widespread perspective, more than just Shigaraki like I'm gonna kill you all. No, I'm not. Yes, I am.
mm-hmm,
I need to see the public. I need to see
yeah,
what's going on in the minds of the people.
yes, yes. I definitely think, as I said, I think the most reasonable angle to take for that would be the whole, hey, your kids were involved in what is basically an act of war. Um, and I mean, now that they have a political party on their side with a guy who can hack TV networks, I can imagine a few ways they could like spin it to make the heroes look bad. Because I mean, I think Hori did make a point to show, like in the Stain arc, how powerful internet propaganda is. So yeah, like I could go either way. As I said, I don't feel confident predicting too many things with this arc because it's just odd. It's the oddest arc he's written so far, and I like it a lot, but it makes it a bit awkward to try and talk about it weekly.
Davi's gonna get Endeavor taken down by memes. Hard right Reddit memes. It's gonna take down Hero Society.
Dobby hijacks 9gag and 4chan to do his bidding. Bro.
That's the conclusion that we need.
Oh man, the pre-time skip arc just ends with Ben Shapiro exposing Endeavor.
He's got a mug of hero tears.
Now let's imagine, hypothetically, just a thought experiment, of course, that Endeavor were actually a piece of shit.
For the sake of argument, let's just assume
Yeah, exactly.
that Endeavor
Exactly.
did commit a eugenics-based offense. Just for the sake of argument.
And then Jordan Peterson comes out with with the support. He's like, I think people have blown this out of proportions. But yeah, this it's weird. It's very weird to try and predict.
Stefan Molyneux's 15-slide PowerPoint presentation on why it's not even that big of a deal.
Titled Shoto probably deserved it.
It's gonna be like, well, he wouldn't have had to do it so many times if the first kid was just good enough.
So actually, the fault is back at Dobby, since he's probably the first kid.
Oh my God.
Oh, this turned bad very quickly, didn't it?
Just a bit.
This is a teeny
All
bit.
right. I think this is a good time to transition into lightning round. We're going to talk about, at least I am, because I read most everything that comes out every week. You are much more fine-tuned in what you go after. So, lightning round of series that I think that you should be watching or reading or whatever, based on just this week's chapters, is Mashal, Magic and Muscles. Still really great. It's like Black Clover if Black Clover was funny for good reasons instead of bad reasons. Undead Unluck, I promise it's not weird anymore. It was really weird for a long time. I didn't even want to read it at all ever, but finally enough people were like, it abandons the weirdness and it just is good. And it has. It's not creepy and weird anymore. It's just good. Phantom Seer, we are only 7 chapters in, but it's pretty neat so far. It's got a cool little world it's building up in here with the way that, spirits and people interact. It's got an interesting enough main character. It's for 7 chapters, I would say at least check it out. Mission Yozakura Family is very generic, but it's still fun. It's got some good comedy moments in it. It's got an interesting enough societal setup with the way that spies work, and it's mostly like just a comedic underworld that's just very obvious but for some reason normal people can't figure it out. Like it's got vending machines full of grenades and somehow nobody notices. It's interesting. It's fun. It's basically a worse version of Spy Family. So if you like Spy Family, you'll probably like this to at least to some extent. And I'm gonna go ahead and co-sign. I'm gonna say, well, not co-sign. I'm just gonna sign because I'm the only one talking. Magu-chan, still funny enough. If you're struggling to find a comedy series that you're actually willing to read, because most of them are awful, this one is funny enough. It's got enough variance in the jokes, unlike some stuff like Moria King, which is just the same joke for 90 chapters. That for 15 chapters, I'm gonna say Magu-chan is still pulling its weight. That's it for my lightning round. That's all I've got that really sticks out to me. I can't quite get into Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin. That one's too much for me. There's a few other ones. A Gravity Boys, too much for me.
Isn't A Gravity Boys doing absolutely horribly in Japan too?
Last time I saw, I thought it was actually doing pretty well. I haven't checked up on the sales figures too much lately, ever since Kimetsu no Yaiba went away, because you couldn't not see it if you existed when Kimetsu no Yaiba was going around. So once Kimetsu no Yaiba ended, I have been paying way less attention to that. But last I saw, which was months ago, it was actually doing pretty well. But I would be happy if it was doing poorly because I'm tired of people talking about it at me.
Yeah, Gravity Boys, I remember when that dropped and the premise was translated and everything, and do the Japanese think that's funny? It's
well, also I read I think maybe 10 chapters of it, maybe tops, and they just don't do the thing that the entire premise was about. The weird, we're going to turn one of these dudes into a lady and then he'll repopulate the human race. They just don't do that. And then it never comes up again.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Cool.
yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's good, I guess, that they don't do that, but it's also literally the only thing they build about the series when they were introducing it.
Yeah.
So
No, a lot of these like Shonen Jump gag titles, and we talked about this before we started recording, but like I can't like wrap my head around some of these like stuff like Roboco and a Gravity Boys. It's just like what are we supposed to do with that?
yeah,
Like,
I don't know what I'm supposed to be getting out of any of this.
yeah, I guess it's just kind of, it's just us foreigners being like, oh, where is my big punchy emotional shit? Meanwhile, the
Yeah, maybe
Japanese are
maybe
like,
we don't have the comedic sensibilities necessary
well, not
to
necessarily
comprehend
Jap.
it.
Maybe it's just like a difference of how we look at it because obviously to the Japanese audience, Shonen Jump is just a magazine you buy to get a bit of laughs at or a bit of kicks out of. Whereas for us, it's very much let's follow this cartoon magazine to see uh, if we reach peak literature this week. You know, so maybe it's just a difference in perception.
That very well may be. Okay, so here's an interesting question for you to close out the inaugural episode. Do you think that gag manga get a larger leeway when it comes to early cancellation than action series do?
I I definitely think so. I think that ever since that new editor in chief took over, when was it like 2016, 17? Um, I do think that gag mangas have increased in volume and in what's the word? Uh, just in how many there are.
Oh, like in
Um,
publication.
yeah, in publication. However, I also think that we now have a bit of a tendency of overselling that discrepancy because it's kind of like with saying, oh, all the songs made in the 2000s were good. It's no, most of them were shit. We just only remember the good ones. And it's the same with Shonen Jump, I think, that if you go back and actually look at the issues that were released, from 2000, 2014, you'll still find a lot of gag manga. I just think that now we tend to feel like there's more of them coming out because what has absolutely happened is that Jump has become very, very trigger happy with the axe and cancellation hammer. So what we end up having is, we have these gag manga or short-lived action manga that, come up, run for 20 chapters and get canceled and then get replaced by another gag manga. So it feels like there's more of it, but I don't think like just numerically that they've gone out and said we want more gag manga. I just think it's kind of just a side effect of us mostly remembering the greats from before the Jump app was really a thing. Because obviously then it was very much just, oh, let's read what we know and what we want to seek out. Whereas now it's let's read what's in the magazine. Um, so yeah, I definitely think that uh, we as an audience have more access to gag manga than we ever had before, but I can't really comment definitively on like the actual volume of them compared to 10 years ago.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I can't help but look at series like, Zip Man, Guardian of the Witch, Time Paradox Ghost Rider that weren't, incredible and probably would have gotten canceled anyway, but they didn't even make it 20 chapters in. And then you
Hmm.
compare that to something like Mitama Security Spirit Busters, which, from what I understood, never did well, ever. I don't
Hmm.
recall anyone ever saying that it was popular in the slightest, and it made it to almost 50 before it got
Hmm.
canceled. That stuff like that sticks out. I mean, I guess Bone Collection. I don't know what you would build that as a gag manga or not. That only made it to 15.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just can't help but see a lot of these like you said, like getting a little trigger happy when it comes to canceling new drama series before they maybe have a chance to find their footing.
Hmm.
Whereas they just print gag manga until they start maybe getting negative dollars. Like
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
maybe Mitama Security was literally stopping people from buying the magazine, so they finally had to cut it. I don't know.
oh man, I don't want to buy this shit. But
Mitama
uh,
Security's still in this. I'm not reading any of this shit.
oh no, I got that Mitama security stinking up my Jujutsu Kaisen. Like imagine you're fucking reading like something like the Shibuya incident arc and you like turn the page and you have fucking Magu-chan or Mori King on the other side. Like, man, that's like eating a really good steak and then they follow it up by like a box of like old Jello.
Yeah, you just like Yeah, and and maybe it's because we have the app just came out. Not like yesterday, but it's still fairly new. Um, Maybe it's just different because we don't experience it in a way of like, oh, if you want to read Jujutsu Kaisen, you're buying this magazine and it has all
Yeah,
of this
yeah.
stuff in it. Whereas for
Hmm.
us, you know, it's only $2 a month. I would spend $2 a month on this, even if literally the only thing I was reading was Jujutsu Kaisen. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
I
it,
mean,
it might be
the
just a difference, like you said, in the way that we intake the media.
absolutely. Um, but I think also in certain cases it makes a difference for the cancellation thing. It makes a difference. You know, which author is doing it because of course we had Samurai 8
Oh
run for
God.
what
I was
40
trying not to bring
chapters.
up Samurai 8 so I didn't have more people tell me that the only reason I don't like it is because the Naruto author stole my fiance from me and she married him instead.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to
I
hear
know
that.
it was a rough time, but she came back
God.
because he released Samurai 8: The Tale of Hachimaru and she realized he was a giant fraud. So,
No, she came back because just like with his actual wife, it took him 11 years to get to the honeymoon. So, yeah, you know that story?
I did not know that. That's amazing.
Well, okay, I mean, it's kind of bitter because I think the reason is that because he was still writing Naruto. So he waited for the honeymoon until he was done with Naruto, which is still,
Jesus.
really, but I mean, that's nothing compared to Oda, who sees his daughter like once every 2 weeks, and then he just goes back to drawing, and he's taken a single holiday in his entire tenure to Hawaii, and he spent most of it inside drawing. So,
Do you think that when One Piece is over, Oda's just going to crumble to dust like he got Thanos snapped?
I don't know nearly enough about Oda to even predict what he might do, but I definitely think by the time One Piece is over, he will not want to write anything else and not need to write anything else.
Oh, well, he hasn't even needed to keep writing One Piece. The legacy is intact, that's for sure.
Oh,
But yeah, no, I
absolutely.
don't think that we'll see him penning another series anytime soon once One Piece goes down.
But to get back to Samurai 8, I think there it really was that, they tried to celebrate Kishimoto's return to the magazine. And I mean, they kind of did it as well now with Kubo and Burn the Witch, which I've heard has been received better than Samurai 8 was, at least.
Yeah, so like I haven't checked on, sales numbers like I said, but when it comes to the actual like at least from the American sphere that I occupy, or I guess, Western sphere that I occupy when it comes to public reception to this kind of thing, Burn the Witch has been pretty positively received.
Hmm.
It's a unique premise. It's still got, the great art. There's not too much carryover, whereas Samurai 8 was pretty routinely criticized for just feeling like Naruto repackaged in a new body, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I remember I read maybe, I don't know, 10 or so chapters, and my verdict on it, and the only one time I've spoken on it was it feels like part one Naruto written by a part two Kishimoto.
yes, that is a very, very good summary of what Samurai 8 is. And I think they got a lot of flack really early on for the art being really inconsistent to the
Mm-hmm.
point of being potentially really bad. But
Mm-hmm.
not, it wasn't like bad in the sense of like, wow, this guy doesn't know how to draw. It was just like they tried to make I'm sure you've seen the picture. Everyone's seen the picture of just the crazy background covered in like white splotches and there's just shit
Yes, yes.
everywhere. And you just
Yeah.
can't make heads or tails out of what that image is.
Yes, yes, yes.
They
It's
toned
actually
that down a bit. I don't know. It just never seemed to find it any sort of backing from anyone that wasn't like a Naruto diehard.
mm,
Because
yeah,
even
because
some big Naruto fans hated Samurai 8.
yeah, no, I remember seeing that, and I think it's really interesting because I've been revisiting Naruto a lot lately, because global upheaval does make you long for childhood things. And one thing I really noticed with Kishimoto's art in Naruto is that already like very early in Naruto, he had a tendency of overusing white space. And I think in part two it gets worse. Like again, worse in air quotes because I think Kishimoto is overall a good draftsmanship, at least for his Naruto tenure. Um, but you can really tell that he is kind of very happy to use white space and to not occupy and not have a lot of blacks on the page. And it's really interesting that that came back to bite him for Samurai 8, apparently.
Well, he actually did not draw Samurai 8.
He did. Oh, right. It's
He
one of
was
his.
only the author. The art was Akira Okubo for Samurai 8.
Oh, right, 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 right.
Um,
Okay.
and
My
it's
bad,
funny
my bad
because
then.
it looks very similar to Boruto, which also he does not draw.
Yeah, which is what's his name? Another editor, no? Or no, ex-editor.
Mikio Ikemoto, I want to say, is the guy who does
Yes.
Boruto.
Oh
Um,
man.
and so they both kind of come off as looking like they look like a Kishimoto-esque drawing, but
Mm-hmm.
not actually done by him, and you can very much tell.
Mm-hmm.
And at least in the case of Boruto, especially, they tend to forego background entirely,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like how Kubo gets criticized a lot for foregoing any sort of background. But when
Mm-hmm.
Kubo does so, usually the actual piece that is whatever's taking up the frame is really intricate and interesting. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
in Boruto, I feel like they have a lot of frames where it's just one of them's running, and there's just the whole background is just black lines.
Man, like, do I want to open my mouth about Boruto? Do I want to do this
Hey
to
man,
myself?
we've been going for 45 minutes, so if you want to hit an hour, then yes. If you don't, then no.
Boruto is so unfortunate. Like that's really all that series is so unfortunate. And to stay on the art and not go on a huge tangent about how Kishimoto literally came to my house and punched me. Um Ikemoto's art style is probably one of my least favorites I've seen out of anything. Like it's this weird attempt at semi-realism, but it just looks uncanny to me, especially the faces. It's
Yes.
just so
So his
odd.
his faces simultaneously look weird and also all kind of samey.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one chapter. I'm just flicking through the most recent chapter just to get a good handle on the art. So while I'm talking about it, and it's got God, who's the kid? The Kawakami. What is his name? Kawaki.
Kawaki,
Yeah.
Kawaki, the
There's
guy
a
who will end up killing Naruto in
yes.
the
Dun dun
uh,
dun.
yeah, the
There's a frame
prolapsus.
of him and Shikamaru right next to each other, and I swear to God, it could
Mhm.
either one of them could be the exact same person.
Uh,
And also,
I rem
he's terrible. I don't want to say terrible because I couldn't do this either. I couldn't do this in a million years if someone. I can't even do stick figures well. But when
uh-huh.
he's trying to convey any form of movement, every single thing just looks like someone is standing still with black lines. It looks like they are completely immobile, but then all of the millions of black lines behind them are supposed to make them look like they're in motion. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah. I've seen
fluidity.
that
There's
around.
no. It just looks like they're standing completely still. But you're supposed to interpret it as movement because there's 145 black lines all over the screen.
I remember when Boruto first dropped, like the manga chapter. I remember I was back in high school, and I have very vivid memory of this. And I was doing a course for advanced English to get my certificate in the English language. And in the break, one of the guys was reading like Boruto, the first chapter, and he turns the page, and Ikemoto's Sasuke appears.
Oh my god, I literally was about to just say this is what
Yeah, yeah,
Sasuke looks
yeah.
like.
And the man and the guy, like, he perks up and he just yells, "Ah, yo, ain't that Professor Snape?" And that is like my main memory of how Boruto started. Like, oh, it's just so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. I mean, I also heavily detest the fact that Boruto started as soon as it did, like while the corpse of Naruto was still relatively warm. It's just like, yeah, yeah, whatever. I won't go. I'll spare you my usual tirade. I feel like I've gone on this many, many times in the past.
Yeah, no, I get you completely. Naruto and Boruto, like even if it wasn't the intention, how quickly Boruto released just made it feel like capitalization on Naruto.
Yes,
Even if it was
yes.
100%, like maybe that was a story Kishimoto actually wanted to get out there, and he was like, there can't be a damn second. People need to know what happens to Naruto's Rugrats child. Maybe he was
Hmm.
adamant. I don't know. But the how soon it came out after Naruto had just concluded really did feel like they were like, hey, you remember Naruto? Check out what's coming to
Yeah.
Crunchyroll. It's this fucking shitty kid.
Yeah, I mean the anime is even worse. Like the manga, I remember if I remember correctly, it took 4 months for the manga to start after Naruto had concluded. The anime of Boruto started the week after Shippuden ended.
That is insane. I did not
Yeah,
know that.
like
That's actually insane.
no, I remember because I remember that Shippuden ended with the announcement of Boruto's release date, which was the week after. Because I remember I watched the episode like in at school in between gym sessions. Man, all these memories and they're attached to something like Boruto.
I know, yeah. Those are very personal memories for friggin' Boruto.
Well, people go on these big tirades about how I hate Naruto and Kishimoto and how if I had a fiance, probably she ran off with Kishimoto too, and that's why I'm salty. But
Well,
at
they
the end of
say
the day,
that great tragedy really sticks in your mind. So,
well, that and also was hugely influential to me. Like just it was my first anime and stuff, so you can't it kind of just embeds itself into you. You know, we
yeah, I
can't.
can.
It's very hard to escape our personal narratives with these pieces of fiction.
Oh, sure.
Read
Yeah. I
cartoons.
mean, that's
Yeah.
true for anything.
Yeah. Is there anything else we need to mention?
I don't think so. This wasn't a monthly drop week, so no Boruto, no Dragon Ball Super. So that'll be fun when
Mm-hmm.
we finally have to talk about that.
Oh
Uh,
man, do you actually know that I started out my career as a Dragon Ball YouTuber?
I feel like everyone does. Like every single person that I know, I think, even though they do absolutely nothing related to Dragon Ball now, they all started that way.
Yes,
Me
yes.
too.
My first video was did Dragon Ball Super ruin power scaling?
Oh God,
Yeah,
what a
I
nightmare
unlisted
that's.
that shit. I
Oh
unlisted
no.
that shit the moment I blew up because that is such a bad video. But yeah, no, Dragon Ball Super. Whenever we hit a week with Dragon Ball Super, that'll be fun.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure we
gonna
both
be
have.
quite a week. The internet's gonna be real happy about that one.
I'm sure we'll have some very agreeable takes on the Super manga and Toyotaro.
Oh God. Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm not even gonna get into Dragon Ball Super because we've already been going
Yes.
for 50 minutes, and I don't want to be here for another hour.
Yeah,
If I
yeah, for
start
sure.
talking about Toyotaro. So we will call it for the first episode, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. I imagine we might get a little bit more structured, but I think us being off the cuff like this is good because we actually talk about stuff that
Mm-hmm.
we care about. So, feel
Mm-hmm.
free to drop some comments if there's some stuff you liked, didn't like, want to see different. We're still finding our footing here too.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to say to the people, Ocean Man?
Read My Academia, read or watch Jujutsu Kaisen, read Chainsaw Man, and for the other stuff, listen to what Zen said.
There you go. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. I don't want to commit to anything yet, but I might do. If people start really vibing on this show, maybe I'll start giving away some monthly subs to the Shonen Jump app so you guys can catch up on what we're talking about. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And we will
All
see you
right.
guys next week.
All right. Bye bye.